Welcome to another episode of PP All Pod. I want you to start by just imagining something for a second.
Okay.
Try to picture a pop culture event so massive, like so completely overwhelming in its scale, that it physically alters the inflation rate of an entire country,
Oh, wow.
right?
Oh.
And not just that, imagine it exerts so much pressure that it actually forces a major government to overturn a 57-year-old law.
I mean, when you lay it out like that, you usually think of those kinds of impacts coming from, a major international trade agreement.
Yeah.
Or maybe like a global economics summit or something. You definitely don't typically associate that level of macroeconomic shock with live entertainment.
Exactly. But today's deep dive into our stack of sources is absolutely not about geopolitics. Today, we are looking at Beyonce's 2023 Renaissance World Tour.
Yes.
Because based on the material we have, this wasn't just a series of pop concerts. It was a localized economic earthquake. And honestly, arguably one of the defining cultural movements of the entire decade.
It really was. And just to set the baseline for you, because the numbers here are truly staggering.
Yeah, they're wild.
We are talking about a 56-show tour that essentially broke global records across the board. Like, it became the highest-grossing tour by a female artist in history.
Right.
And the highest-grossing tour by a Black artist in history. It pulled in nearly $580 million.
Which is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around that number.
It really is. But our mission for this deep dives isn't just to, read a list of box office statistics. We need to figure out how a music tour evolved into what was essentially a traveling city.
Yeah, a city that managed to reshape the global fashion industry, upend local economies, and kind of redefine the very concept of what a live show can actually be.
Exactly.
Because when you look at the sheer scale of the numbers, it's almost as if she didn't just go on tour. She temporarily relocated the capital of pop culture every 3 days.
That's a great way to put it.
But to really understand the cultural grip this tour had, we actually have to start before a single note was sung. We have to look at the sheer panic-inducing friction of simply trying to get into the building.
Oh, the ticket sales.
Yes. Because in early 2023, the anxiety around buying a concert ticket was completely unprecedented.
Right. The context here is just crucial to understanding that frenzy. The ticket sales for the Renaissance Tour were rolling out in the immediate aftermath of that massive, highly publicized crash of Ticketmaster.
Oh, during Taylor Swift's Eras Tour.
Right, exactly. And that incident was so disastrous, it literally sparked a U.S. Senate hearing.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, Ticketmaster was operating under this intense microscope. I mean, the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee even tweeted directly at Ticketmaster saying, "We're watching."
I can't even imagine. That is terrifying for a ticketing company.
Yeah.
So, how did they try to fix it? Because obviously they couldn't just open the floodgates and let everyone rush the site at once.
No, they couldn't. So they tried to engineer this highly controlled environment. They split North American cities into different registration groups and implemented this lottery-style verified fan system.
Okay, so how did that actually work?
Well, the mechanics are important here. Instead of a traditional, first-come, first-served queue, you had to register in advance.
Right.
The system would theoretically weed out the bots, verify actual human beings, and then put most people on wait lists while issuing these unique access codes to a lucky few.
So the goal was basically to throttle the traffic so the servers wouldn't melt.
Yeah.
But the system still completely buckled anyway.
It did. It totally buckled.
Because the demand was so overwhelming that actual verified human beings basically acted like a botnet attack on Ticketmaster's servers.
That is functionally what happened, yeah. Ticketmaster actually reported that demand exceeded supply by over 800% in multiple major cities.
800%.
Yeah, we're talking Toronto, Chicago, Houston. Millions of people were trapped in these digital queues. And over in the UK, they attempted this exclusive presale for O2 mobile customers, right? And the sheer volume of traffic outright crashed the O2 priority website.
Oh, my God.
You had over 200,000 people fighting for fewer than 7,000 available tickets for a London show.
That's just brutal.
Live Nation basically had to issue a public statement telling the vast majority of fans that they were simply not going to get tickets.
I have to ask a broader question about this, though. Is this ticketing chaos just a byproduct of broken corporate infrastructure? Or does it speak to something much deeper?
How do you mean?
Well, if you're listening to this and you were one of those millions stuck in a digital queue, sweating over your laptop, you know that psychological toll.
Oh, absolutely.
It feels like this desperate, almost post-pandemic societal hunger for communal joy. People were essentially saying, I need to be in a room with 70,000 other people, whatever the cost, whatever the friction.
I think it's likely a combination, but the lengths people went to definitely point to that deep psychological need for physical connection, after years of isolation.
Yeah,
And there is a really fascinating parallel here, too.
that's that.
While millions of fans were enduring this intense psychological stress just to secure a seat, there was a hidden physical reality happening behind the scenes for the artist herself.
Oh, you're talking about the knee surgery.
Yes. Based on the source material, Beyonce had undergone knee surgery just a month prior to rehearsal starting.
Wow, just a month.
Just a month. So she was actively in physical rehab, learning complex choreography, while preparing for what was arguably the most physically demanding tour of her life.
That's wild. So you have this intense friction on both sides. The digital bottleneck for the fans desperately trying to get in,
Right.
and the physical bottleneck for the artist desperately trying to heal in time to actually perform.
Exactly. It's a massive amount of pressure.
So let's look at what happens when those fans finally survive the ticketing gauntlet. They get their QR codes, they walk into the stadium.
Best feeling in the world.
Right, but all that desperation to get a ticket,
Mm-hmm.
what was the physical reality they were walking into that justified it? Because, based on the sources, the staging logistics alone sound completely surreal.
Oh, the pure engineering feat is staggering.
Yeah.
The design process for this show took 18 months. They were working with S. Devlin Studio and Stewfish Entertainment architects. And because the staging was so colossal, so complex, they actually had to build 3 identical stages.
Wait, how does that even work logistically? Why 3?
It's a leapfrogging mechanism
Okay.
because it takes so long to construct and deconstruct this massive steel skeleton. Stage A is being played on in one city.
Right.
Meanwhile, Stage B is already being constructed in the next city on the tour route, and Stage C is completely broken down and traveling on the highway to the 3rd city.
That is insane. When you describe 3 stages leapfrogging each other across continents, I'm not picturing a traditional pop concert.
Here.
I'm picturing like a military logistics deployment, but, crossed with the traveling sci-fi circus and high-fashion diplomacy.
I mean, that is a highly accurate way to visualize it. The sheer tonnage of equipment is immense.
I bet.
The stage itself was built around this giant flat screen with a huge circular cavity in the middle, which was known as the portal.
Oh, right, the portal.
Yeah, and then a broad ramp connected to a secondary stage that fully circled a VIP section called Club Renaissance.
Which looked incredible, by the way.
Oh, amazing. And the props were massive. You had monumental sculptures, a silver war tank, a giant inflatable disco horse,
Of course, the disco horse.
and these massive robotic arms that literally interacted with her while she danced.
Wow. And we cannot talk about the stagecraft without diving into the wardrobe because the scale of it is almost incomprehensible.
Oh, the fashion was a whole other level.
Over the run of the tour, she wore 148 unique costumes.
It's unbelievable.
Every single concert featured anywhere between 1 and 8 brand new outfits making their debut.
Right.
But I have to push back on the reality of that for a second. How do you even manage 148 bespoke haute couture outfits on the road?
It's a massive undertaking.
The sheer number of wardrobe trunks, dressers, and rapid-fire quick changes required to pull that off without a hitch. It's a logistical nightmare.
It requires an absolute army. You have tailors, stylists, and technicians operating with total precision behind the stage. It was functionally a continuous global fashion show integrated into a 3-hour marathon concert.
And the innovation wasn't just in the volume of clothing either. It was the technology woven into it.
Oh, the UV press.
Yes. There was this white, bell-sleeved and relocated gown that she wore. On stage, 2 robotic arms scanned 2 moving UV lights over her body, and the dress literally transformed into this multicolored masterpiece in real time.
It's so cool. It's using photochromic materials.
Right.
So it's fabric that reacts and actually changes its chemical structure when exposed to ultraviolet light.
That is just brilliant. And beyond the tech, there was deep, deep intention in what she wore.
Absolutely.
For her June 18th show in Amsterdam, which fell right around the Juneteenth holiday, she wore exclusively Black designers to celebrate.
Yeah, custom pieces from Maximilian Davis for Ferragamo, Olivier Rousteing for Balmain, Ib Kamara for Off-White. She was using high fashion as a form of cultural diplomacy.
She really was.
Yeah.
But if we pull back and look at the physical toll of maintaining this spectacle, there was a very real human cost, too.
There was. The sources note that because of the sheer volume of pyrotechnics, atmospheric effects, and smoke being used every single night to create this sci-fi environment,
Yeah.
Beyonce actually suffered from bronchitis and continual sinus infections throughout the tour due to the excess inhalation of those chemicals.
Wait, belting out massive 3-hour vocal performances while actively battling bronchitis
Yep.
and recovering from knee surgery, it really underscores the immense physical endurance required to maintain an illusion of this magnitude.
It really does. But, all of that cutting-edge technology, the UV dresses, the robotic arms, the pyrotechnics, none of that actually explains the cultural resonance of the show.
Right, because at the end of the day, that technology is just metal, fabric, and smoke.
Exactly. The intent behind the staging was to take a cavernous, 70,000-seat football stadium and make it feel like an intimate, sweaty underground club.
Which brings us to the cultural homage that actually defined the soul of the Renaissance tour.
Yeah, the pacing as a show.
Right, the concert was this marathon run between 2.5 to 3 hours, structured into distinct acts.
Hmm.
And the beating heart of the entire production was a heavy, loving homage to queer ballroom culture and underground dance music.
This is such a crucial element of the deep dive. Ballroom culture is an underground LGBTQ+ subculture that originated decades ago, primarily among Black and Latino communities.
Okay.
It's where so much of modern dance, fashion, and slang actually comes from.
Right.
And the tour explicitly honored these roots. It was guided by the omnipresent voice of the legendary ballroom commentator Kevin Jizz Prodigy.
Oh, his voice is iconic.
He acted as the narrator for the evening, asking the crowd if they were ready to serve and ready to slay. It really integrated the authentic lingo and energy of a ballroom competition into this massive global stadium tour.
And speaking of crowd participation, we have to break down the mute challenge.
Oh, the mute challenge. It became an absolute cultural phenomenon.
It really did.
During the song Energy, there is a specific lyric where she sings, "Look around, everybody on mute." And the challenge was that the entire stadium had to go completely pin drop silent for a few seconds.
Like total silence.
Nobody speaks, nobody screams, the music completely cuts out.
What I find so fascinating about that is the mechanism of peer pressure at that scale.
Right.
Cities were actively competing against each other online to see who could be the absolute quietest.
Oh, the TikToks were everywhere.
Yeah. Imagine the discipline it takes to get 70,000 screaming, adrenaline-filled people to instantly freeze in absolute silence. It became a viral sport.
It did. It became this huge badge of honor for the cities that pulled it off best, and she would even declare winners on her website.
When you have 70,000 people participating in something like the Mute Challenge, doesn't that blur the line between a performer entertaining a crowd and the crowd actually becoming an active, necessary part of the art itself?
That is precisely the magic of what this tour accomplished. The audience wasn't just passively consuming a show, they were cast members in it.
Yeah, they really were.
And that communal energy was fostered in other ways too. Like, the tour didn't have a traditional advertised opening act like most massive pop tours do.
Really? Just went straight into it.
Well, instead, the creative director curated surprise opening sets by queer nightlife DJs.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, they specifically centered figures from the dance music communities that inspired the album, which just further turned the stadium into a giant club.
That makes total sense. There were also these incredibly pure communal milestones baked into the run of the show.
Like Blue Ivy.
Yes. You had her young daughter, Blue Ivy, regularly coming out on stage to perform complex choreography to the songs My Power and Black Parade.
The crowd loved it.
The crowd literally watched her confidence grow city by city. And then, at the September 4th show in Los Angeles, Diana Ross made a surprise appearance to lead the entire stadium in singing Happy Birthday to Beyonce.
Such a great moment.
It created this deeply intimate atmosphere. But the sheer concentrated energy of these crowds, I mean, it couldn't be contained inside the stadium walls.
No, it actually spilled out and disrupted global economic models.
This is where the data gets truly unprecedented.
It does. Economists from major institutions, we're talking Danske Bank and Morgan Stanley, coined terms like the Beyonce bump or Bayflation.
Inflation.
Yes, Bayflation, because the tour actually drove up national inflation rates.
Okay, I really need you to give us an ELI 5,
Yeah.
explain, like I'm 5 on this. How does one single musician mathematically raise an entire country's inflation rate?
It comes down to how inflation is measured and the concept of a massive localized shock of demand.
Okay.
So inflation is often measured by a consumer price index, or CPI, which basically tracks the cost of a basket of standard goods and services.
Like things we buy every day.
Right. Things like housing, food, and recreation. Now, when the tour kicked off in Stockholm, Sweden, hundreds of thousands of people flooded the city all at once.
Right, because it was the opening night of the tour.
Exactly. Visit Stockholm reported almost 100% hotel occupancy. When demand for hotels, restaurants, and transport surges that violently, algorithms and businesses instantly raise their prices to capitalize on it.
So the hotel prices in one city spike so high that it literally drags the national average up.
Yes. The economic activity was so concentrated and massive that the recreation and hospitality categories in Sweden's national CPI basket surged, and it moved the needle for the entire country.
Wow.
The chief economist at Danske Bank stated it was astonishing for a single event, and something they hadn't really seen before.
That is just mind-blowing. And it wasn't just Sweden. In the UK, the Office for National Statistics noted that a rise in recreation and culture spending, which, by the way, was the fastest rise in 30 years, was the biggest driver for their inflation increase. And they explicitly linked it to her tour.
It's wild.
We're talking about hotel prices in Sunderland soaring by almost 600% on the night of her concert.
The broader macroeconomic impact is estimated by Question Pro to be around $4.5 billion in economic activity.
$4.5 billion.
Yeah. To put that in perspective, that is roughly similar to the revenue generated by the 2008 Summer Olympics in Beijing.
So she essentially transformed into a localized economic stimulus package.
Basically, yeah.
It's like a city hosting the Super Bowl, but she's bringing that Super Bowl to a new city every 3 days.
The Super Bowl is a perfect comparison for the level of infrastructure strain she caused. You actually saw municipal infrastructure bending to accommodate her.
Like the Metro?
Yes. When severe weather delayed her show at FedEx Field near Washington, D.C., the concert ran past the local Metro Transit's closing time.
Oh, no. So how do people get home?
Well, the transit authority couldn't just keep the trains running late for free due to municipal budgets. So Beyonce paid the Metro $100,000 out of her own pocket to keep all 98 stations open for an extra hour so her fans could get home safely.
She essentially rented a city's public transit system.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But the most incredible structural change, to me, happened in Australia.
Oh, the overturning of the stadium cap in Sydney.
Yes. Okay. Since 1965, Sydney has had a strict municipal law limiting their main stadium to holding only 4 major concerts a year.
Because of noise complaints, right.
Right. Primarily due to noise complaints from the surrounding neighborhoods, a 57-year-old law. But because the demand for a potential Beyonce show was so high, business leaders realized they were leaving billions on the table.
Yeah, you can't ignore that kind of money.
So they aggressively petitioned the government. And the government of New South Wales literally pushed to end that half-century ban, moving to increase the cap from 4 to 20 concerts a year, just to ensure they could secure a future date. One person's tour changed a 57-year-old city law.
It really speaks to the incredible legislative leverage she wields. If you want the economic windfall she brings, you have to play ball with her schedule.
Right.
The Premier of New South Wales estimated that hosting her could bring local businesses an additional $1.3 billion. They definitely weren't going to let a noise ordinance stand in the way of that.
Absolutely not. But the economic wave wasn't just limited to hospitality and city laws. It completely reshaped the global fashion industry for an entire season.
Oh, the silver tsunami?
Yeah, while simultaneously generating massive philanthropic ripples. Let's look at the fashion legacy first, because the core aesthetic of this tour completely took over.
The aesthetic was heavily disco-inspired, right? Leaning into silver, chrome, and metallic looks.
Yeah.
And the fans took this as a strict directive. The tour caused worldwide demand for silver and metallic clothing to spike by nearly 700%.
700%. That's insane. And it wasn't just people buying new luxury goods either.
No.
Social commerce platforms like Depop and Poshmark, which deal heavily in secondhand and vintage clothing, reported a 500% increase in sales for anything with Renaissance in the description.
People were DIYing this aesthetic.
Totally.
It completely dictated the trend of spring and summer 2023. Like you said, it was dubbed the silver tsunami. Everyone from Adele, who admitted she was staying up until 3 a.m. panic buying metallic clothes on Amazon,
I love that.
to Vice President Kamala Harris and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, they were all showing up to these shows in shimmering silver.
And for the luxury brand she wore on stage, the exposure was invaluable. Women's Wear Daily actually reported that the tour generated $187 million in media impact value.
That's a huge metric.
It really is. It essentially calculates the equivalent cost of advertising, meaning brands like Alexander McQueen, Tiffany & Co., and Balmain received hundreds of millions of dollars in highly visible free marketing just by having her wear their clothes.
But what's really compelling is how she balanced that immense corporate profit with direct grassroots wealth redistribution.
Right. She wasn't just extracting money from these cities. She was actively pushing it back into marginalized communities through her BeyGOOD Foundation.
The foundation was operating simultaneously alongside the tour.
Right. Exactly. As she moved from city to city, her foundation provided $1 million in student scholarships to colleges and universities in those specific regions.
That's incredible.
Furthermore, they actively provided 1,000 small business owners from marginalized communities with grant opportunities and resources to support their entrepreneurship.
And there are these very specific, localized stories within that massive philanthropy, too. Like in London, she made a targeted $10,000 donation to a struggling Nigerian restaurant.
Oh, I read about that.
Yeah, it was at severe risk of closing down due to the lingering effects of the pandemic. And that money was specifically channeled through a fund she established during the tour to aid small businesses impacted by economic inequalities. It's a very hyper-localized approach. Instead of just, writing one giant check to a global NGO, she was finding the small, vital businesses in the neighborhoods she was actually performing near and offering them a lifeline.
Right.
She also collaborated with Tiffany & Co. on a limited edition jewelry collection where 100% of the profits went to a scholarship program benefiting students at historically Black colleges and universities.
I want to circle back to the silver fashion piece for a second, though.
Okay, sure.
What is your read on the legacy of this aesthetic takeover? Like, is this just about millions of people participating in hero worship and wanting to look like Beyonce? Or did wearing silver become a uniform of belonging?
What do you mean?
Like a visual shorthand to identify your tribe out in the real world?
Oh, I think it's unequivocally the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you read the cultural commentary surrounding the tour, critics consistently called it a masterclass in encouraging concertgoers to feel joyous and liberated. When fans spent weeks crafting these DIY metallic outfits, hunting down silver boots on Depop, they weren't just dressing up for a night out. They were preparing to enter a highly specific, curated, safe space.
That makes a lot of sense.
The silver became a way of finding each other. If you saw someone on the subway in a chrome cowboy hat, you instantly knew, you're one of me, we are going to the exact same place.
It's creating a communal identity out of fabric.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture and return to that opening tension we discussed.
The ticket queues.
Exactly. The digital bottlenecks, the crashing servers, the struggle just to get in. We live in a highly fragmented, increasingly isolated digital world. We do so much of our interacting through screens.
We're practically living in the metaverse already.
We really are. But the Renaissance World Tour proves something deeply optimistic.
What's that?
It proves that human beings are still willing to move mountains, to endure digital queues, to spend their savings, to crash servers, and to reshape local economies for the sake of a masterfully curated, shared physical experience. The desire to be in a room, breathing the same air as 70,000 other people who love the exact same thing you do is still incredibly powerful.
It really is. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with an entirely different angle to chew on.
Okay.
We've talked about the shared physical experience, but look at the sheer tangible power wielded here.
It's massive.
If one artist, armed with a vision and an undeniable work ethic, can mathematically alter a European nation's inflation rate, single-handedly dictate global retail trends for an entire summer, and literally force a major city to lift a half-century-old legal ban.
Right.
Are we entering an era where modern megastars have more immediate, actionable influence over our daily economies and local laws than our own elected officials?
That is a fascinating question.
It really makes you wonder who truly holds the levers of civic power in the 21st century. Thanks for listening to People Out Pod. Keep tuning in for more stories worth knowing.